I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. Pope Francis invited a parish priest from Gaza to the Vatican to hear firsthand about the recent violence that took place there. Rome Reports has more on this visit.
From bombs to desperation, Father Jorge Hernandez has seen it all. He's a Catholic parish priest based in Gaza. Pope Francis invited him to the Vatican to hear first-hand accounts of what locals are dealing with, including the aftermath the destruction has left behind. The parish priest is originally from Argentina. He's serving in Gaza as a missionary of the Verbo Incarnato Institute. In an interview with Vatican Radio, he talked about the suffering and death the conflict triggered in the 50 days of bloodshed. It's estimated that 2,100 Palestinians died, and also 68 Israelis were killed. Christians are a minority in the region. Out of about 2 million residents, roughly 1,300 are Christian, and from that group, only 136 are Catholic. With so much instability, the numbers are dwindling, but he says Pope Francis gave them words of encouragement by highlighting that sacrifice is at the very core of the gospel. It's the land where Jesus suffered, he said, but also the land that saw his resurrection. Father Hernandez added that peace between Israel and Palestine is possible, especially because in a war, he said, everyone loses.
Father Hernandez and 3 missionaries of charity were the only religious left at Holy Family Church during the 50-day campaign between Israeli forces and Hamas militants. While those who could were encouraged to evacuate Gaza, the priest and 3 religious women stayed behind in the midst of the heaviest rocket fire to care for 29 severely disabled children and 9 elderly women. They later opened up the parish school to shelter some 1,200 Palestinians who fled their homes during the airstrikes. More news now from the Vatican. The Vatican has confirmed that Pope Francis will preside over his first nuptial mass as pontiff on September 14th in St. Peter's Basilica. 20 couples from the Diocese of Rome are expected to be married by the Pope. The wedding mass comes just a few weeks before the start of the extraordinary Synod of Bishops on the Family, which runs from October 5th through the 19th at the Vatican. Since Pope Benedict XVI never publicly presided over a marriage ceremony as Pope, the mid-September ceremony will be the first papal celebration of a wedding since 2000, when St. John Paul II married 8 couples from different parts of the world as part of the Jubilee for families. In news now from Iraq, thousands of refugees forced from their homes by Islamist extremists have flooded into northern Iraq, and many are taking up shelter wherever they can find it, including abandoned buildings, churches, and schools. Rome Reports has more from northern Iraq.
As the international community tries to tame ISIS, refugees who were forced out of their homes simply want to go back home without the risk of being killed or attacked. Now that the Islamic State has taken over parts of Iraq, thousands more in the country are forced to flee. The UN's World Food Program states that over 200,000 people are taking refuge in northern Iraq. Not all of them are in refugee camps, making it harder to find them.
These are mainly the people in Dahuk who are now camped in public buildings, in schools, in churches, in mosques, in open fields, under bridges. These are the people that we are challenged in making sure that they have enough to eat.
The refugees taking shelter are but a fraction of the 1 million Iraqis who have been displaced since the start of the conflict. Other organizations, such as Caritas Internationalis, are spearheading relief efforts in Erbil and Dahuk, providing food, water, bedding, and living supplies. They are also working together with Catholic Relief Services in training their staff to help refugees heal from the mental trauma they've experienced.
And finally in the news, the interreligious soccer match for peace took place yesterday evening at Rome's Olympic Stadium. Earlier in the day, the Pope had a chance to address the players and organizers of the event. He also greeted each player individually. Rome Reports has more from the Vatican.
Pope Francis met with soccer players and organizers of today's interreligious soccer match for peace. The match will take place this evening at Rome's Olympic Stadium. The Pope thanked the players and highlighted the importance of setting an example for youth.
La gente, specialmente I giovani, vi guarda con ammirazione per le vostre capacità atletiche. È importante dare un buon esempio sia in campo sia fuori dal campo.
The Pope also expressed his hope that this interreligious match would contribute in eradicating all forms of racial, cultural, and religious discrimination.
Ma voi sapete che discriminare può essere sinonimo di disprezzare. La discriminazione è un disprezzo. E voi, con questa partita d'oggi, direte no a ogni discriminazione.
Pope Francis then greeted all the players, among them soccer legend Diego Maradona, who presented the Holy Father with a jersey bearing the Pope's name. Maradona said that he was moved by the Pope's words, especially now that he has returned to the church.
Conmosísimo io di abbracciarlo, di sentirmi argentino y de sentire y de ritornare alla iglesia dopo di avermi allontanato per mia madre quando se l'ha portato Dio, però oggi sono contento di rincontrarmi con la Chiesa, con Francisquito y giocare per la pace.
Ukrainian soccer player Andrei Shevchenko also spoke to the Pope, asking him to pray for his country. The Pope was presented with the award for the soccer match, as well as an olive tree that will be planted at the Olympic Stadium. Well, that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.